Good morning and welcome. We are live. This is Danny McAtee and CT Duel, the Forge Men's Group. Good morning, CT. How are you?
Excellent, brother. We gotta cue the intro, the fancy schmancy intro video, music, lights, camera action. I'm good, man.
I'm
How are you?
I'm good. I'm gonna do Instagram one more time because it doesn't seem like it works. So maybe now that we're live, I can do it this way. Let's just see. Everyone, we are learning about new technology as we go. I'm definitely the weak link in this. So we got what we got. Good morning and welcome, everyone. We have been having a series of conversations over the past few weeks. We invite you to join. There is a link on Facebook for you to come on camera with us and speak. Nothing fancy. You don't have to be prepared. There's no right or wrong answers. We just like having conversations and hearing people's opinions. Today, we threw out a couple of different topics. The one CT brought to my attention from a 70-year-old. Who was the guy that said who said the quote, "When I know better, I'll do better." It was a sauna guy, 70-year-old guy in a
70-year-old man
sauna.
in a sauna, dropping bombs.
We thought that was a very good. We're live with President Trump. Let's get work. We have competition.
Well, I know who people are choosing, and that's us.
I would hope so. Tell me what that means to you. When I know better, I'll do better. Yeah.
Man.
2 days ago, we talked about self-compassion. So do those two tie together somehow?
I think when I know better, I will do better. I think that is self-compassion. I think the realization that maybe you didn't do everything right. Maybe you didn't do everything perfectly. Maybe you're going through something right now. You feel like you shouldn't be going through it, but you feel like it's a regression if you're going through something, right? But it's like, look, I'm doing the best I can. 4 agreements, do your best. That's what I'm doing. And when I have better information, I'll do better, right? When I have better life experience, better emotional regulation, better self-compassion, better whatever it is, better relationship, whatever it is, I'll I'll do better, man. But right now I'm doing the best I can. That's what it means to me.
Sometimes it feels. Thank you for sharing that. Um, Sometimes it feels like we are vague and we're speaking around the topic. And if you and I were alone, that would make sense, right? Because we know all the conversations that we've had together up to this point, but our viewers don't. So can you be more
Mm.
specific? What does that mean to you? What does that mean? What things have you done well? What things have you not done well? Like when have you actually had to apply this concept to yourself? I
Yeah,
challenge
thank
you.
you. Thank you for that challenge. Yeah. We gotta throw up the I call bullshit reader on the screen. Yeah, let's get specific. For me, right? I mentioned this last time. Going through a few months of at times turmoil, at times questioning myself, at times being sad, pissed off, lonely, whatever it may be, right? Feeling like I'm not winning, I'm not clicking, I'm not rolling like I just had been for like a year straight.
Mm.
So it's like, why am I in this state? Right? Why am I struggling? Why am I taking L's, losing? Just so, and why do I just feel like shit? So for me, it was when I when I know better, I'll do better, right? Um, yeah, and I think part of being in a kind of a dip, right, is I'll put it to you this way. I just read something. It's the story of the arrows. If an arrow hits you in your shoulder, right, it hurts. If another arrow hits you in that same spot, it doesn't just hurt twice as much, it hurts 10 times as much. What does that mean? The first arrow is something that happens in life, right? The mistake, the failure, the setback. But the second arrow is the story we tell ourselves about it, beating ourselves up over it, dwelling on that mistake, dwelling on the failure, right? Calling ourselves XYZ name, right? As a result. So for me, right, being in kind of a low point in life, I was doing more of the damage just myself, right? Most of the damage was just me being like, man, you're losing, you're struggling, what's going on? You made this mistake, you weren't perfect here. So yeah, for me, when I know better, I'll do better. It's just about letting go, show myself compassion, letting go, man. And that's true freedom.
Letting go is true freedom.
Hmm.
Let me take you a little bit deeper,
Let's do it.
right? What we're asking of people, right? What we're asking of men that come to the forge is to put their balls on the table and talk about their life in real terms, right? Not in a metaphor, not in allusions or references or vague, vague. We're asking them to be like, I was here on this day and I did this, and this is what I think about it. This is how I feel about it.
Mhm.
Okay. I got into a relationship a few years ago that felt like it was going too fast. I could feel that in my stomach, and and I still kept going with the momentum. One is because I wanted a relationship. I felt like I was aging out of the market, and an opportunity came up, right? The whole time I was feeling frequent moments of, I don't know, there's something that just doesn't feel right about this. Push through, ignore. You're being nervous. You're sabotaging. Right? Push through, push through. As a 50-year-old gay man, and I've had like 3 relationships in my whole life, I don't really have a standard, right? I don't really have models to look to. What is my role? What is expected of me, right? In heterosexual relationships, there is a time, thousands of years of roles that the man is the protector, the man is the defender of the household, the man provides. The woman, we have different roles of sort of established. Now, do people now step out of those and define their own? Yes, they do, but there is a standard to look at. For me, I was finding that I don't know what my role is. Like, I don't know what's expected of me in a relationship. And so I just did everything, right? I don't know what I'm supposed to pay for, what I'm supposed to, so I just paid for everything, right?
Mm.
This is an example of when I know better, I'll do better. One, now I know that just doing everything is not the answer. Now I know that when you feel a way in your gut, listen to the feeling in your gut.
Mm.
Right now, the relationship has failed. Now the relationship is over. Right now I can sit in self compassion and be like, okay, I didn't know. I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. What will I do differently in the future? When I know better, I'll do better. Now I know better. So my choice is to listen to my gut and make an uncomfortable change in a new direction, or go with the flow and end up getting hurt, screwed, whatever, regret down the line. Does that
Mhm.
does that make sense?
Yeah,
So for me, that
absolutely.
was very uncomfortable to say that. But this is
Thank
what
you.
we're asking of men that come to the group, right? We're asking them to be transparent, to be like, here it is. I'm going to say something that I normally would have just, no, everything's fine. No, I'm good. I'll deal with this on my own, right? Because one of the expectations we do have of men is to handle your business. This, I think, differs from person to person, generationally, geographically, culturally, where you grew up. But my expectation was you handle your business quietly and without bothering anybody. No one wants to hear you. No one wants to hear it. We're not interested. In fact, this is in my family in particular, this is a conversation that I don't want to hear it. I want to hear about that. When someone starts to complain or when someone starts to, you know, air their dirty laundry, a lot of times what we hear, I don't want to hear about that. Don't talk to me about that. Right.
Mhm.
So when I know better, I'll do better. For me, is now I actually do know better about a lot of things that have been conflict or uncomfortable in my life up to now. So now that I know that, in the future, I can choose differently. A big lesson for me is, and we've talked about gut in our physiology before. The gut does not lie, right? Biologically, for millions of years, we have this. People call it the sixth sense. People call it a gut feeling. Physiologically, what we have in our gut is more nerve signals going to our brain than we have nervous signals going from our brain to our gut. Right. So in the future, what I know is if you have that feeling, it's like when you have to smell milk twice. Like I mentioned the other day, you're like, "Eh, no, I'm not drinking that. Right. And so what now I know better, I'll do better. So now I know to listen to my gut.
Mhm.
That's one that was not probably not a very organized way, but that's what came up for me. It's like we're asking people to be specific, we're asking people to be vulnerable. And so I chose to do that a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you. No, that was a very coherent statement and a vulnerable one. So thank you. But what happened? My question here is where I struggle sometimes is, all right, now I know better, so thus I can do better. But what happens when I know better and I still don't do better? You know, like I know I'm self-aware and I'm thinking like, all right, cool, big self-aware guy. I know about my, loops and patterns, but I still do them. I still carry that out. And so for me, like part of self-compassion is realizing that even when I know better, I might not do better 100% of the time.
Why not?
I don't fucking know. I think because I'm human. I think because we, like you say, right? That familiar chaos.
Oh, you froze. Olivia's Wi-Fi got my friend here frozen. Oh, yeah, are you back a little bit? Okay.
We're back, still got the piano, we're good. So yeah, I think I was just gonna say, like, part of the human condition is not doing things perfectly linearly. It's not doing things perfectly, right? So I think I would extend the statement when I know better, I'll do better. But even when I do know better, I'll still make some mistakes.
Okay, but the phrase is when I know better, I'll do better. It doesn't say when I know better, I'll do everything perfectly the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, right?
Yeah.
Better is just progress, improvement. Better
Yeah.
is not perfection.
Can you think of an example of something you would like to do better in your life with
For
details?
me, it's taking care of my emotions, taking care of my negative emotions, right? When a negative emotion comes up for me, my default is distract, escape. And the
Hmm.
more powerful that emotion is, the more stimulation I seek to kind of suppress it, push it down, you know. So for example, right, like um feeling a bit of anxiety. Okay, it's not that bad. Maybe I'll just work out. Maybe I'll just scroll on my phone for a bit, whatever. Feeling big emotions, the big scary ones, rejection, abandonment, grief. Hold on, I gotta take this way further. I gotta seek out a woman. I need to go on a date right now. I gotta fire up some sexual shit on my computer, you know.
But let
So
me ask you a question. When you're saying that, is this a conscious voice you're having, or is this a subconscious like impulse? Do you think to
subconscious
yourself,
impulse.
okay, okay,
No, hell no. Not like, yeah, it's not like explicit, like, oh man, I feel this emotion, but it's becoming that way. And that's doing better, I think, right? It's becoming,
mhm,
oh wait, now I do feel this emotion. My impulse is to go do XYZ, but actually let me sit with this for a moment, right? But yeah, so that's been my biggest challenge as an adult is dropping some of these tendencies and behaviors I learned in childhood, adolescence, like distracting from heavy negative emotions through the use of sexual stimuli, right? So that's a more concrete example for my life. And that's an example of, okay, now I know better and now I'm doing better, but I still make mistakes,
mhm.
right? I still make mistakes.
Mistakes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a great That's a great call out, right? It's when I know better, I'll do better, not perfection or get it right every time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Perfectionism is the mother of all fuck ups, I think. It is an unreasonable standard that we hold to ourselves and then punish ourselves, even though we know we can never meet it.
Yes. Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, we talked about how isolating it can feel. I put up one of the quotes from the Code of the West. I encourage everyone to follow them on Instagram and read the book, The Code of the West, where it talks about when we do better, when we now know and we realize we have to make certain changes. Here's an example. One of the things I realized about my life is that my pattern of behavior over many years has been like the stray dog, you know. Do you have time for me? Yeah, when do you want to see me? I'll cancel everything and go to you. That's okay. I'll take a train for 2 hours, right? Instead of you have 3 vehicles, pick one of them and come over to me, right? So I have been over accommodating in my history, and that has created patterns of behavior with myself and patterns of types of people that I've been surrounded by, right? This is not about blame, but this is just about when I have been able to notice myself in the things I complain about or feel uncomfortable about and back research, okay, well, where did that come from? How did I get these things that I'm complaining about? And how do I change it? Right. So now that I started knowing better about certain things, I was like, okay, now the next step is, are you going to act on it or not? I have a history also of not acting on boundaries, not talking about my discomfort because it could be, you know, I don't want to make any waves. I don't want to seem too needy. I want to, you know, be demanding of people and just be comfortable and just, you know, go roll with it. Right. So in other words, I'm describing codependency. I'm describing codependency. And so great. So over time, I've realized that, and I've come to learn that I have allowed unhealthy relationships to form because of how I showed up in them. Not because I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that are evil or bad or, you know, have malicious intention. No, because people respond to each other, and the energy that I put out was, "Here's how I allow you to treat me. Right? It's on me." Well, once I noticed that, I started making changes, and some of the changes were fading out from people. And when that happened, it started to feel very fucking alone. Right. So instead of being surrounded by chatter that drained me, I was surrounded by way less people. I also moved to a new country where I don't know that many people, so everyone's new. Right. So I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but I had decided to, okay, I'm responsible for making this change. Literally, no one else is capable of doing it, and probably no one else knows about it, right? Because I don't talk about it. And so now that I know better, I have to do better. And that for me means saying no, limiting access, right? By that it means, you know, someone calls me up and it's 9 o'clock. It's, hey, let's go out for beers. I'm like, I actually get up at 4 and I go to the gym, but okay, yeah, that's fine. You want to see me right now? I'll get up and go out, and then I'll sleep for 3 or 4 hours and then be miserable tomorrow because it accommodated your schedule, right? That was a common pattern for me in the past. I worked on nights for 10 years, right? So whose kid had a birthday at 11 a.m. on Saturday? Who wanted to have coffee? Who wanted to do this during, you know, normal hours? And I was like, I work all night. I'm not going to be able to do that. And be, come on, when am I going to be able to see? Okay, I'll stay up. So what happens? I stay up for 20 hours in order to go see someone who couldn't adjust their schedule to see me on the later part of their day, right? Because you couldn't see me at 8 at night because you have to go up and get to work, but you want to see me at 10 in the morning when I get off work at 4 in the morning and work again tomorrow at 4 in the afternoon, right? So what happened is I started saying no to things, you know, as diplomatically as possible. But now that I know better, I have to do better, and that for me creates it has created like a holy shit. This feels very isolating sometimes. You know, it feels bad, and so when we're changing out of old patterns, it can feel uncomfortable. Is what I'm trying to say. Right? And that can
Absolutely.
pull us back. That little voice could be like, just go with the program. Just go back. Go to your comfortable chaos. Go back to what you know. Don't be high maintenance. Don't be needy. Don't be difficult. Just go with the program. I hear that. I hear that a lot in my conscious and subconscious. Just go with the program. It's
Mhm.
gonna happen.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can relate to that. I'm sure many people can, right? The isolation that at times comes with change, comes with personal change. For me, like I don't drink, right? I used to drink, used to party, do all that. Haven't done that in a few years. But sometimes, right, as a kind of nomadic lifestyle, you go to a new place and it's like, fuck, I'm lonely, man. I don't know anyone. I'm starting from scratch every single time, right? And I see these people, they can just go to a bar and get drunk and meet people. And yeah, it may be kind of surface level friends, right? But at least you're interacting. At least you're not alone.
Mhm.
So I've had that temptation plenty of times of like, well, fuck it, just go and do it and meet some people and it's normal and whatever, right? So textbook example of sometimes that voice starts to talk like, hey, let's go back. Let's go back to that familiarity. Definitely, man. Definitely. And that happens on that's just one example of many, man, for me. Whether it be quitting smoking weed. Oh, that's a great way to go hang out with people, make friends. Or quitting excessive dating or whatever it may be. Oh, that's you should meet people, you know. So it is isolating and there is the temptation of regression, going back to the familiar, the comfort. Absolutely. How do men navigate the isolation that can come with change?
How do men navigate the isolation that can come with change? I mean, I think that there's a lot of ways. There's some typical ways for men is overworking, overtime,
Mhm.
bar room, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think that men isolate also, like the concept of a man cave. Everyone needs their own personal space, but I think that a man cave is also like an invisible force field to leave me alone often, right? What is often in a man cave? Big TV. My brother's man cave is a saloon, with the doors that swing like this and everything's wood. And so that's a man cave where people can come over. But I think that men typically tend to be quiet, isolate, or put the energy into something else, like overworking. Um, I mean, I assume you're meaning unhealthy ways or healthy ways.
Yeah, the follow-up question is what are ways that would actually serve a man? But I was gonna say that's a tricky area, the unhealthy ways. When you get into I'm still escaping and I'm distracting, but it's in much more socially acceptable ways, like work, right? I just been grinding, man. I just been locked in. I just been working, and everyone goes, "Fuck yeah, brother, good stuff."
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, the difference between a maladaptive coping mechanism and an adaptive coping mechanism is really only possible to know the difference when I'm honest with myself, right? Working overtime is great. You get to save money. You get to, I made $100 an hour in overtime. It's great fucking money. Um, but am I working overtime because I want to, or am I working overtime because I overspent on toys and I bought a 4x4 and I bought a boat and we're going to Singapore on vacation and now I'm in debt and I have to pay it off, or am I working overtime so I don't have to be at home? Am I working overtime because I don't want to be alone, and rather than sit alone at home, I'm just going to go to work because at least there's people and something to do, right? So the difference between healthy and unhealthy is often not very clear, and it only becomes clear when I'm able to sit with myself and be like, what is driving me here? What's my intention for doing this? Am
Mhm.
I doing it because I want to? Am I doing it because I feel like I'm expected to? Right? For me, overtime was major. Overtime was a huge maladaptive coping mechanism. I didn't have to think about my own life. I didn't have to sit in my house looking at all the projects I should have done, would have done, wish I could do. blah, 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 be alone because it's night, listen to gunshots, right? And so working overtime for me was a major way of avoidance and isolation.
Mm.
And it was very unhealthy, right? And the more that I did that, the more overtired I became. And so for me, overtime was a big one. And my counter to that now is, I mean, I've spoken to you before about I don't respond to anything before 10 a.m. and I don't use my phone before 10 a.m. and I don't work before 10 a.m. because that's part of me trying to be strict about not doing too much because I feel like I have to be productive because I can't sit still or I have no worth unless I'm doing something useful.
Mhm.
Another counterbalance to that for me is the gym. You know, that the gym is 100% about me. I'm not at the gym because I care about how people look at me, how I'm seen by people. I go to the gym because I feel good. And now that, 50 and up, you're like a Model T Ford. You know what I mean? You still run, but you have to crank it a few times and warm it up. You have to do a little extra to take care of the machine. And so for me, the gym.
Yeah, which the gym can also blur into, right? And it's back to your point of you only know when you sit with yourself and you're brutally honest, right? Because the gym too, right? I used to take a cold bath, take an ice bath, rip a coffee, go train Muay Thai for 2 hours and just be fucking lit out of my mind. And that was my form of kind of distraction, right? Overstimulate to escape the emotion. And everyone would celebrate it. Bro, you did an ice bath. Coffee's good for you. It's healthy, man. You're training. You look good, man. So then society celebrates it and reinforces it until you go, oh shit, I was just avoiding myself in more acceptable ways than going to a bar room or a strip club or whatever it is. Um, I think that applies to everything, man. Really, like anything can be for avoidance. And like you said, it's just about being brutally honest with yourself. Um, do you have any keys for men, any men watching or anyone watching really? How can they do things that might serve themselves better than just working a shit ton of overtime just to escape, going to the bar room, going to the strip joint, overstimulating on TikTok, whatever it may be? Are there ways that have served you or any of your clients in the past?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. I mean, what comes to mind for me is I don't have it in front of me, but the Bulletproof Mind Journal that you wrote,
Mm,
I correct me if I'm wrong, but the first, if not the first, one of the first steps was define your ethics, right? What is important to you? What are your values?
mhm,
So if something is consistent with my values, I won't know it until I've defined what they are. So we have to do like in the 12-step process, we have to do a fearless and searching self inventory to find out what is important to me, what are my values. Because when I define that, now I can know that if my behaviors are in line with that or not.
mm,
And if they're not in line with it, this comes back into the topic that we're talking about today. When I know better, I do better, right? So, this is what I'm talking about. And this conclusions I was mentioning about observing myself and how I relate to others over time is a new one, right? I'm getting this memo pretty late. I mean, my timing is perfect. I'm getting it now. Thank God I'm getting it now. But now that I know it, I've defined what my morals and ethics are. Right? I've defined what's important to me. And now that I know that something is out of balance with what's important to me, now I can make a plan and choose how do I bring that back into balance. So it's sort of like a zoom out and start with a foundation. What's important to me? How do I live a life that's consistent with that? And it's pretty simple. I mean, it sounds simple on paper, but it's complex when we do it in practice, right? For
mhm,
part of the reasons I just mentioned. Because sometimes coming back into alignment with our morals means we have to have difficult conversations and or make difficult changes.
mm.
And so most people be like, I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to go with the program and stay where everything's at and stay in a comfortably numb in the little cycle of my own, avoidance. So that's what I would say to men: is first zoom out and define what's important for you.
Mm.
Once you know that, then you can do an inventory of, am I living in a way, am I behaving in a way that's consistent with that? And that's the part where the work is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man. That makes me think about when I initially quit drinking and quit, as a result, quit hanging out with a lot of people that I used to do that with and found myself needing to rebuild my life. That was the final conclusion. Like at first you're like, damn, I'm bored. There's no one to hang out with. My girl's living in a different city, whatever. Like I can't distract myself with whatever, right? That was the conclusion. Like I have to rebuild from the ground up. And to do that, that's why I put that as the first prompt in that journal. What are your top 5 values? Because I didn't know at that time. I'd never thought about that. So let's define our values, what's important to us, what's the most important to us, and then let's rebuild a whole new life based on that. And that's a scary endeavor. That is a scary endeavor, my friend.
Why is it scary endeavor?
The statement rebuild a life. It's kind of intimidating. It's kind of daunting, right? It's like I have to uproot everything. Like just in my example of quitting drinking, right? Most of the people I was hanging out with, it was only because we were drinking together. And I think that's one of the strongest pulls for people attempting to quit alcohol is that social element of like, well, fuck, now I don't have any friends. Now I don't have anything to do. You know, now I got to go socialize sober and find where do you even do that? You know, so it's like to go and make new friends, to go and try new hobbies, to meet new people, right? To put yourself out there sober, to explore yourself a bit. What are my values? Maybe move, maybe travel, whatever it is, right? Rebuild a life is like, man, it's kind of intimidating at first, right? Obviously, it's the most for me. It's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. Um, but yeah, it can be a bit daunting.
Thanks for bringing that up. You know, sobriety is a huge one. I'm not sober. I don't really, I drink a little bit, but very little bit. And I don't use recreational substances. And for some reason, I've been lucky enough to avoid that type of addiction. God only knows how. But I do a lot of work with 12 steps and I do a lot of work with sobriety. And one of the difficult things about sobriety is actually not even the sobriety itself. Yes, sobriety can be difficult for many people, but part of the process of becoming sober is the feedback that we get from others, right? So here's all these people that care about me, right? Here's all these people that say, I'll go to the end of the world for you, man, we're my brother, I got your back. No man left behind. All this shit that people say. And then when it comes time to deliver on that, they're like, hey, CT, hey, listen, I just want to let you know, I'd love to hang out with you. I'm not drinking. So I would appreciate if you support that. And you're like, just let me get you a shot. Come on, relax. Go with the program. Just have one. It's fine. Right. And so instead of saying, oh shit, how can I support you in that? Or thanks for letting me know. Like I'd love to support you any way that I can. You bring it up if you want, but I won't bring it up again. Whatever, instead of immediately responding with support and positive reinforcement, most people in our circle, I'm not sure if this has been your experience, but most people in our circle will convince us, sweet talk us, shame us, mock us into returning to the behavior that's comfortable for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, awesome, can I get you a club soda? You want a Gatorade? Great, that's great. I'm going to be drinking. I hope that doesn't bother you. I'll be drinking today, but if you don't, I support you. Right? And so when we take the balls and the courage to tell people around us that we're doing this new thing, oftentimes we don't get support at all, or we don't get this type of support we would like. Right? And so this is part of what makes these changes, well, more difficult, I think, externally, is because they're not convenient for other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
My definition of someone who cares about me, who loves me, who is like legitimate and real in my life is someone that wants what I tell them is good for me.
Right.
Not wants what they feel is comfortable for them. Right. So like all these people, and I mean, it was a lot of people. All these people who were scheduling things for me at 10 and 11 in the morning, the day after I worked a 12 or 16-hour shift, they were not interested in what was best for me, right? Come on, it's the kid's birthday party. They're gonna miss you. They're gonna, right? Instead of being like, oh shit, you've been up for 16 hours. Go home and get some rest, and then let me know when a good time is, and we'll do something then when you're awake. Or maybe we'll move it to 3 p.m. so you can go home and get a few hours, Uh, yeah, I'm kind of, I feel like I'm not, I don't feel like I'm hitting well today. But
You're rolling, man.
the
You
behavior
you're
change is its own thing, but then the feedback we get from other people makes things a lot harder. And so a lot of times what I found myself doing is being, telling people like, oh, I'm not having carbs. Like, I'm like cutting right now. I'm trying to cut some weight. I'm at the gym. I'm doing like whatever it is. I'm intermittent fasting. Like, just have some fucking pasta, man. Relax. And I'm like, I just fucking told you to your face that I wasn't having carbs. Now you're going to give me a pan of pasta. Like, what? Why?
yeah. But doesn't that kind of let you know like who's in your corner and who's not? Who's just there when you're like the version of you that is acceptable to them?
To a large degree, yeah. And guess what that means later? When after, years and years of that, when I'm like, now I'm just not answering your call anymore.
Which reinforces like change can sometimes be isolating, right?
Yeah. If it can feel very isolating. And it's
Yeah.
painful. I would say painful. I no longer have a relationship with a couple of people that I have had close relationships with because over a period of years, this type of conversation repeated itself, even where I was like, I just don't know what else to say to you, and I don't understand why it seems like I'm not connecting with you or you're not absorbing what I'm saying to you when I do not want to eat this. Why is that? Why does it have to be hard for you? I do not want to consume alcohol. Why is that hard for you? And finally getting frustrated with people enough to be like, some of the political shit too that's going on in this toxic echo chamber of politics we have in the United States right now, where people bombard my DMs and bombard my email with political shit.
Oh,
Most of
they
the time,
get
I just
blocked.
delete it. Yeah, most of the time, I just delete it. First of all, when people send me something, for instance, especially through Facebook Messenger, and it's just like a link or a video, I immediately delete it. I don't open that because it's probably spam or like a something.
Yeah,
No,
some bullshit.
right. So if I don't have language tree being like, "Hey, Danny, look at this. I saw this. I think it's really interesting," whatever, I'm not going to open it. Number one. Um, and some of the feedback I've given people who do this over time is like, "Hey, did you read that article I sent?" I was like, "No, you sent me. No." And actually, you sent me 25 articles, and please stop sending me political stuff. I'm not interested. I don't share your politics. I don't want to hear it. So please don't send it. Keep sending it.
Yeah,
Keep
that's a
sending it.
block, dude.
Right. And then in 2 weeks, it's like, what's wrong with you? I don't understand. I thought we were friends. Why did you block me? I was like, we can still be friends, but I blocked you because I told you 3 times to stop sending me political shit. You continued. And I'm not even telling you what my politics are or aren't. I just asked you to stop sending me, inundating me with all of this shit.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, man.
Tangent.
No, but something that I experienced in my journey of quitting drinking though was it was a lot of those situations where somebody kind of just disappears from my life because they go, okay, I've accepted it. Like at first, oh, dude, you're fucking boring, man. You don't drink. Come on. And then it's like, okay, he doesn't drink. I'm not inviting him to hang out because all I do is drink. So what am I going to do with this guy? But on the positive side, I got to see that I did have some real friends. I
Mhm.
had a few men in my life who were like, hey, I fucking respect that. Let's go grab coffee. Let's do a bike ride. Let's do yoga. Let's work out. Whatever it is, right? They're like, hey, I'm standing on side you no matter what. You know, like
Mhm.
I still drink. I'm gonna do my thing at night, but let's hang out during the day. So there can be some silver lining there. And I think it's a great way to just filter motherfuckers out. you know, filter people, right? People that go, you're boring. You don't drink. I like the old you that would pop a pill and drink a lot and drive drunk and do. Okay, if that's the only version of me that's acceptable to you, then fuck you.
I've had some really powerful conversations with clients using that prompt, right? using well, let's talk about that. What about me drinking benefits you? Let's discuss it. What about, let's say that I'm going to take a pill and take 4 shots of Fireball right now. What does that do for you? I'd like to hear from you how that contributes to my relationship with you. And people are like, be like, oh, well, might I suggest that it's making you feel less shitty about your behaviors that you cannot control?
That's it.
That resonate? They're like,
That's it. You can't even have a lot of these people, you can't even have that conversation. You know, that's the other thing too, right? With sober conversations. I thought when I quit drinking that my depth of conversation was gonna reduce, right? Because when we're drunk, we can really let go and we can talk about whatever. No, my conversations got better when I got sober, right? Because the people that are willing to even have a conversation like that sober are clearly comfortable enough with their emotions and with themselves to go there. Whereas someone that's just you're always drinking with and you ask a question like that, what does me drinking do for you? It's like a lot of those people won't even touch on anything related to that, is what I've found in my life.
love it. I love it. I say we take a 2-minute break and then return.
Cue the music.
Boom. And we're back with CT Duel, Danny McAtee, the Forge Men's Group. Thank you for that. The truth is, I had to go to the bathroom. I've been hydrating. I'm so sorry.
Hey, hydration is key, man. It's
We're
important.
drinking like a few of these every day with lime and electrolytes.
Oh, that's good, man. Throw some salt, a little sea salt in here. We're good.
So welcome back, or welcome to the stream. If you're just joining us, my name is Danny McAtee. This is my colleague and friend, CT Duel. We have a men's group called The Forge. Why do we call it The Forge? Because like a forge, where you put in metal into a molten furnace, pull it out, feed it into a different shape, reheat it, and do that repeatedly to make it stronger, better, more refined. So is the life of many of us and our experience in the world. And so we believe that men and women process and communicate differently, and we have created a space for men to talk about things that men need to talk about. CT, talk to
Yeah.
me. Talk to me.
Well said, brother. Well said. Yeah. I think it's think it was Marcus Luttrell that was saying something along those lines about when the dagger's just on the fucking table getting beat, sparks are flying, the dagger is asking why? Why me? Right? And then it comes out a fucking killer machine. It's like, oh, that's why. Got it.
I'd like to read something from this guy that I follow on Instagram. His name is Brandon Collinsworth. I encourage everyone at Brandon Collinsworth, Branden, at Brandon Collinsworth on Instagram. Really interesting philosopher. I don't know how I would describe him, an influencer. He's someone that I've never met in person, but he talks a lot about men's mental health. And I wanted to read something that they posted yesterday. It's called A Man's Worth. We talk about men like they're unbreakable, like strength is the only thing that matters, like their worth is measured in how much they can take without breaking. But here's the truth. Beneath the armor, there's a war one too many are fighting alone. The boy who was told to man up or tough it out before he could name his fears grew into a man who dragged them like chains in the dark. We applaud his hustle, his grit, the way he walked through fire, but no one asks him if the fire is burning him alive. And here's the cost. On average, across the world, one man takes his life every minute, not because they're weak, but because the world taught them to suffer in silence, to wear their wounds like trophies, and to bury their pain where no one can see. Thoughts on that?
Impactful statement, impactful data. One man takes his life every minute. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it is a result of that. I think it is a result of emotional suppression, lack of community, more isolated than ever, of course. Every maladaptive coping mechanism handed right to us. Anytime, any place, you can engage in that. Lack of initiation, lack of healthy male role models, lack of a place to go when you're suffering, right? Like a men's group to say, hey, look, fellas, I'm fucking struggling this week. And for a group of grown ass men to go, hey, I hear you. I feel you. That was me 2 weeks ago. And just that simple acknowledgement to go, oh, it's not just me. I'm normal. I'm human. A lack of that, right? Across society, across the world, unfortunately. Powerful statement, man. Thank you for bringing that. That's thought provoking and very powerful.
What would you say to men that are, I don't want to fucking talk about all my bullshit in front of a group of people. No one wants to hear that. I don't want to sit around in a group and complain. It's just going to make it worse.
Unfortunately, the stigma still does exist among men, right? Of therapeutic things, support groups, support in general, deep friendship, intimacy, right? That's non-sexual, non-romantic. There are stigmas, right, around those things. And I would just say, what has isolation gotten you? Right? What has isolation gotten you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I would add that I only work with people who have a bias toward action. And I'm not interested in sitting around in rocking chairs and fucking crocheting and just complaining like a bunch of old Italian women. I'm not interested in that. What I am interested in is getting it on the table and not fixing it for someone or not trying to suppress people's problems, but getting everything out on the table and allowing people to own and have access to their process. Right. And some of it is just not possible to do alone inside of our own dome. Some of it is, but it takes a long time. Some of it would be faster if I could reflect it off of others or to hear how others have experienced the same exact thing they've gone through, but were afraid to talk to about anyone because they didn't want to be perceived as complaining. They didn't want to be an old Italian woman just griping and moaning and bitching. Right? And so the point for me of a men's group is not to fix anyone, but is to have access to tools and choices. Right? And to be able to reflect to one another, to hold one another accountable, and to encircle and lift each other up. I had something happen yesterday where I was talking to my trainer on the forward, like sending audios back and forth to each other. And he said, I love you. The straightest military heterosexual you've ever meet in your life. But a secure person with no need to prove anything to anyone. And he always says, I love you, send you big up. Always. And for a minute, I was like, love you. But then I was like, wow, that's someone just being absolutely genuine and like expressing himself without asking for anything in return, qualifying anyway, be like, I'm not gay, but none of it. Just simply expressing affection, right? And most of us, the Brandon Collinsworth quote goes on for several more pages to talk about the little boy us. The little boy us, many of us never heard that. Right. And like it or not, whether you go to psychotherapy or not, what we lived through and what we experienced, this is like putting myself up on a cross being like, my life was so terrible. I had a wonderful life. I have a wonderful father, always present. But what happens to us, good or bad, when we are in our formative years, goes with us for the rest of our life. That's a fact. And so many of us never heard that when we were kids. Many men did not ever hear that when they were kids. Many men were parentified because their fathers were in jail. They never knew who they were, right? Mom hooked up with someone and oops, I'm pregnant now. The father's long gone before the kid's ever born. The father left, father died in war, whatever. And so many kids never even had a father to not say that to them.
I had yesterday was Father's Day. Mm-hmm. I had a powerful moment, man, yesterday because I had a rough relationship with my father who wasn't always the best father. He wasn't always there, wasn't always present. But yesterday I gave him his affirmations. Happy Father's Day. Thank you for being a great father, teacher, man. Appreciate you. Love you. We never told each other we loved each other back in the day. And he goes, you're the best son and man that I could ask for. Love you too. It was like, whoa, that's powerful. That's powerful, man. But it can make you uncomfortable for a man.
It can make me uncomfortable?
No, I'm saying it can make one uncomfortable hearing that. Or like your trainer telling, hey, I love you, bro. Or hey, love you. Big hug. It can make you go, whoa, right? You're not used to that. If you're just accustomed to that insecure masculinity that's like, don't show love, especially not to other men that's fucking gay. Hey, bro, I'm not gay, but it's like, all that shit is insecure, man. Secure masculinity is what your trainer did. Love you, brother. Yeah. Here for you.
Yeah.
I got you. And that's what I had a beautiful experience with yesterday. Love you, man. Here for you. Got you. Yeah.
How lucky that you're able to have that reconciliation with your father.
It's a blessing. Yeah, it's a blessing. I realize not everyone gets that. So it's definitely very lucky.
Yeah. I will say that I've struggled with some social anxiety. I mean, when I examined my relationship with alcohol, the truth is that when I was at a function, when I was at a party, I was like, I couldn't even talk to anyone without a couple of drinks. I'm so uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to be in the corner. I don't want anyone to talk to me. You know, I just uncomfortable being seen, uncomfortable with attention. And one of the things that I'm working through now as a fucking 50-year-old man is someone can put their hand on my shoulder and I tense up like this and start getting sweaty. Because physical contact with me, especially with other men, meant you're gay. Now I'm going to fuck you up. You're making a pass. You're being inappropriate. Those are the main messages that I got as a kid. And so I learned to never have physical contact with anyone, even on a bus or, like in an elevator, like getting like this so you don't even graze somebody's knee. And This is part of what I'm talking about. When we're a kid, what happens to us, good or bad, stays with us and defines how we develop and influences how we develop as an adult. And to me, someone like even putting their hand on my shoulder can make me go like this. And I am not alone in that at all,
Mm,
especially
not at all.
North American men
Yes.
have this in our culture of like any type of skin to skin contact means you just got raped and you're gay.
Yeah. It's fucked up.
Right. When I'm in Latin America, I mean, I've been going to Cuba for, I don't know, years and years. I've had, I don't know, well over 50 trips in Cuba. Lots of trips in Brazil, lots of trips in Colombia. They're not as, the men there aren't as physical with each other. But in Brazil, the first time I went to Brazil and someone kissed me on the cheek, I was like, super uncomfortable and sweaty. Like what, I just started sweating all the time.
Yeah.
This is what any men's group, but this group in particular, is for us to be able to talk about that, have a place to talk about that, have a place to process it, listen to other people's experience, and move forward in a way that works for each of us. We do encourage that people speak from a place of their own lived experience. I believe that my work in coaching, I believe that language matters. And I believe that our words become our thoughts, and our thoughts become our behavior, and our behavior becomes our habits, and our habits become our identity. And so if I speak in the third person, I'm remitting my responsibility and my accountability for something. If I speak in the first person, I feel this, I live this, I did this, I'm owning my behavior and I'm owning my accountability. So this is one of the things that we talk about in the group is how do people say show up for things, be present? How do we do that? One of the ways we do that is with language, right? And how we speak. Just a little footnote for our viewers on Facebook.
Yeah. It's important. It
Getting
is
close.
important.
It's very important. It's something that took me a long time to learn. Like when I was constantly in groups and men's groups, when I started doing this work as a client with trauma and first responders, people would be like, use I statements. Would be like, I hate you. I think this is boring.
Right.
And I didn't understand the value of it until I got into like some of the neurolinguistic stuff. But it does matter. And how we relate to ourselves matters, and the language that we use. We are a little bit past the top of the hour, coming up on 1 hour. Going to wrap this up soon. Do you have some thoughts as we begin to conclude this live today?
No, man, I appreciate you and your vulnerability. Anyone watching, thank you so much for tuning in. When I know better, I'll do better. Caveat, better does not mean perfect. That's my biggest takeaway from this. So I appreciate you for that.
When I know better, I'll do better. Yeah, for me, for a lot of the things, that means right now, today, this moment, because I do know better. So I'm working on it. Constant working process, constantly evolving, revisiting, and titrating, making adjustments.
That's right, brother.
Thanks as always to you, CT. Every conversation is a good one with you. I learn something from you every time we speak.
Likewise.
And thank you to the viewers. Thank you for interacting today, and we hope to see you again soon. We will be live in the next couple of days. Take care, everybody.